Good morning. Today is Friday, the 27th day of Elul, and we're getting ready for Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Very powerful Shabbos. It says this Shabbos, God Himself blesses the month of Tishrei. Every month, the Jewish people bless the upcoming month, except for this month, a new year. God blesses this new month. And in that power, we have the power to bless all of the months. So let's begin again with the tzedakah, kedela tzedakah, shemekarev as a Geula. And don't forget the 3 chapters that we say today. The 27 of Elul is the chapters 79, 80, 81. So we continue in chapter 19 in Igeret Hakodesh, where the Alter Rebbe explains the depth of the power, the light of the Torah. There is the external aspect, the external dimensions, and there's the internal dimensions. We spoke about the differences between the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, what he comprehended, and the level of the other sages. We said this is the difference between seeing something and hearing something. Moses had the ability of seeing. Prophecy is a concept, something that you see. When you see something, it becomes really one with you. Nobody can break your faith, and when you see something, it becomes so real by you. Unlike when you hear something. When you hear something, somebody can disprove you. You can be very convinced about something, but if it's only something that you heard, you're not so certain about it like when you see it. So Moses, he saw those godly levels. It was so one with him. On the other end, there is an advantage in hearing over seeing, because when you see, you can only perceive what your eyes is able to perceive. So in normal human beings, when you see, what does the eye perceive? Only material things, physical things that the eye perceives. But hearing, when you listen to something and you understand concepts, that it's not limited to physical beings. You can understand something which is much greater, much more subtle and spiritual concept. You can understand it even though you don't see it. So hearing reaches in a way higher than seeing. But it's not so one with you. It's not something that is so certain with you and connected with. The greatness of Moses, that he was able to see things that we only hear. However, it was limited to the external part of the Chachma, the external aspect of the Chachma of Hashem. And the same thing is said now about the Torah. The Torah also is only, it says, because the Torah was revealed from the Chachma. But what level of the Chachma of Hashem was revealed? Only the external aspect. And the Alter Rebbe continues to say that also the mitzvahs that Hashem invested, the light of Hashem in the mitzvahs, is also only the external aspect of the light. And we explained also in the Torah, this is why in the Torah you have words in the Torah that are written one way and read another way. Because the Torah itself has so much depth. And what we perceive in the Torah is only what we are able to understand. And what we are able to understand is the way we read the Torah. But sometimes it is written in a different way, but the way it is written is something that is beyond our understanding. Another thing the Alter Rebbe said also is there is the letters in the Torah. Sometimes you have large letters in the Torah. If you read the Torah, you see certain letters, you have a large letter all of a sudden in the middle of a word. And this also represents a greater level of godliness that is revealed in this particular letter. And many of those things are revealed to us as we learn more and more the depth of the teachings of Hasidus and Kabbalah. We come to understand much more depth in the Torah. But obviously this is just a tiny little bit what we know. So the same thing as in the mitzvahs also. There is the deeper aspect of the mitzvahs, and there is the external aspect. The aspect that the dimension that we can connect to and we can understand. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. Continues the Alter Rebbe in chapter 19 in Igeret הקודש. והנה בחינת חוכמת אלוקות ברוך הוא המלובשת בתרי"ג מצוות התורה נקראת בשם בחינת אחראים לחוכמה. Now the aspect of the blessed divine Chokhmah that is vested in the 613 commandments of the Torah is referred to as the hindmost aspect of Chokhmah. So like we said before, Alter Rebbe was talking about the prophecy of Moshe, Moses' prophetic comprehension, which is the external aspect of the Chokhmah. Then we said about the Torah, the source of the Torah and the Chokhmah is also in the external aspect. And now he talks about the mitzvahs and the 613 commandments. That there we have also the external aspect of the Chokhmah is vested in the mitzvahs. And Alter Rebbe explains, כי כל החריים שבספירס הם מדרגס החיצונס והתחתונס במעלה שבספירה זו, מה שיוכלו לרד ולהספשט למטה, להסלבש בברואים לחייסם. For the acharayim, the hint part, of any one of the spheres are the external and lower levels within that sphere, which are capable of descending and extending downwards to become vested in created beings in order to animate them. So this is the key word, vested. There is things that light that can come down. If it's not vested, if it's encompassing, then it can be a great light and be way beyond your capabilities of receiving. Take, for example, the sunlight. The sunlight is a great, unbelievable light, but it comes down and it shines in a encompassing way. It's not vested in each and every aspect in each and every vessel here in this world. If it would be here, everything would be burned. But it's coming down in an encompassing way, so everything can take whatever it takes. When we're talking about something that is vested, it means that is fitted to the vessel. So when we're talking about in the attributes, in the spheres, in the godly energy that comes down, so is the energy that comes down, and if it comes down in a very encompassing way, that's one thing. But in order to come down and being vested in the actual creatures and to animate them in an individual fitted way, that you cannot have the deeper, the infinite level of godly energy. You have to have only the external dimension of those attributes. ובחינת הפנים היא הספירה עצמה המיוחדת במאצילה אין סוף ברוך הוא בתכלס הייחוד. The aspect of the panim, the face, or the inner dimension of the sphera, is the sphera itself, as it is united with its emanated, the blessed Ein Sof, in an absolute union. For example, the sphere of Chachma, the sphere of the wisdom, the first sephira that we're now discussing. This is united with its emanator, the blessed Ein Sof, in absolute unity. Because the Holy One, blessed be, and His wisdom are one, as explained above. That which radiates and extends from His blessed Chachma to the limited and finite nether beings below, the lower beings, which are limited and finite. And once again, the Alter Rebbe stresses, and he becomes vested in them, then Nikro Achoraim. This level is called Achoraim, the level that comes down to the lower levels, that becomes vested in the lower aspects. This is called Achoraim, the external aspect of the Sphira, and not the Sphira itself. And it is also called the aspect of Asiya within Atzilus. Asiya is the world of action. So within Atzilus, which refers to Chachma here, Chachma is also Atzilus. Atzilus is the emanation of godly light, which is the Chachma is also this concept. That level of the Chachma which comes down is called the Asiya of the Chachma, the action of the Chachma, or the action of the Atzilus. And he uses an example of action of a human being. The soul of a human being is expressed in 5 different levels. There is the intellect, there is the emotions, there is the thoughts, there is the speech, and there is the action. So the Alter Rebbe is going to use this example to explain that just like by a human being, these levels, obviously how much of your soul is invested or revealed in your intellect is a much greater level than it's in your emotions, and certainly much greater levels than speech, but than thoughts, and greater than speech, and greater than action. When you do something, how much of your soul is invested in it? How much is revealed in your action? You can do things without even thinking, without the action does not involve so much of your soul energy. When it comes to speech, then it's a different story. You speak, you don't speak to an animal. I mean, yes, you can speak to an animal, but he cannot communicate. And certainly you cannot communicate in speech with a tree or with a rock. Some people will argue that we communicate with an animal. Of course, an animal sometimes, can understand a certain aspect of the speech. But obviously speech delivers intellect, which an animal is not capable at all. You need to be a human intellectual being to understand a concept, a deeper concept. So he says, Alter Rebbe, Pirush tel derech mashal k'moi sheba'odem hatachte, sheyesh b'nishmasei hein madrege zu lemata mezu. The meaning of this will be understood by the way of analogy with a terrestrial man whose soul spans 5 ranks, one lower than the others. So what are the 5 ranks that we just said? Shehein b'chines ha-seichel ve'hamidos u'machshava ve'dibur u'maise. These are the faculties of the intellect, the emotive attributes, the thoughts, the speech and action. And action is the lowest of all of them. Because the life force that extends from the soul and is vested in the faculty of action is as nothing compared to the life force that extends from it and is vested in the faculty of speech. And speech is much, much more endlessly, infinitely greater than the energy that is in the action. And going further, says the Alter Rebbe, Shehu ke'ayin legabe achayus hamispashet mimeno melubash b'machshaved u'midos v'seichel. And the latter, in turn, is as nothing compared to the life force that extends from the soul and is vested in thought, and in the emotive attributes, and in the intellect. Obviously, each one has a much, much greater level of the soul. So it is in a precisely like manner with respect to the divine Chochmah. Ibchinas Chochmah is Borech, ma sheyuchal leispashet mimeno, hashpia leislabish betachtonim kulam, to the extent that can be diffused from it to become vested in all the nether beings. So this is the example that the Rebbe uses to teach us the level of the Chachma. What is vested in us is only an external aspect of the Chachma. But at the same time, Alter Rebbe teaches that in there is also the very essence. Yes, the external aspect is what we can grasp. So when we take the shofar and we sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, what do? We got a physical horn and we blew the horn. But in this act, there is the external aspect of the Chachma of Hashem, but in the external aspect is connected with the internal, the inner connection to Hashem, and that is why the Torah mitzvahs are really connected with the very essence of Hashem. So this is the end of today's shir. Wishing you all a very good Shabbos, and this Shabbos take good achlatas, good resolutions for the new year. As the Rebbe says, when we take these good resolutions, whether regarding to Torah mitzvahs, the Rebbe also said regarding to the tzedakah that we give, if you decide to give a big amount of tzedakah, this prepares you the vessel to receive the ability to give the big amount of tzedakah. That's why you got to make sure this Shabbos to do it. Wishing you all a ksiva v'chasima teva, and I'll see you with Zat Hashem Sunday.